Hey, what's up guys, JQ with Teqreation. So it's been about 2 months and change since living with the Galaxy S8 Plus, and I think it's safe to say that the honeymoon phase is over. And this phone begins to show its true colors. Let's not waste any time, let's begin. So for starters, as much as I've gotten used to holding it, I gotta say this phone is really uncomfortable to use. 6.2 inches is not very easy to hold one-handed, I can't even deny that, and I kinda wish I picked up the smaller version initially. You really have to pivot that grip to perform certain on-screen actions, and because of this alone, I did drop it a few times on wood and marble flooring, and I gotta say, it actually held up pretty well. I expected a lot worse damage from the impact that it did receive. And that's a bit my fault for taking my case off. I did have a case on it for a minute during my review phase to protect it and such, but I took it off because after a while, I bought the phone because I like the way it looks, and sometimes cases take away from that. Surprisingly, as much of a gimmick as it seemed at first, I actually still from time to time use that fingerprint gesture to pull down my notifications. But ever since I installed Nova Launcher, I just assign a swipe down gesture to pull it down instead, and I kind of toggle between those two methods depending on how I'm holding the phone at that particular moment. Now speaking of the fingerprint scanner, the reachability is still not that big of a deal to me as I stated in my initial review. However, I've spoke about spontaneity of fingerprint scanners in the past, meaning how successful are they when you attempt to unlock it randomly at any given moment. And the GS8 is just not that reliable. It always seems to reject the first touch, or it just won't respond at all until I give it the second touch. And I find that this is common in basically all Galaxy phones. The fingerprint sensor just happens to get worse over time. I'm not sure what that's all about. I find that other flagship smartphones like the Google Pixel have a far more reliable fingerprint sensor. And that's not the only thing the Google Pixel is better at, and I'll touch more on that in just a second. Now, Bixby. On to the famous Bixby. This is still unwelcomed. I still launch it a few times a day when trying to adjust the volume. It's just so annoying at this point. And if you're on the TouchWiz launcher, you do have the ability to disable it from appearing when you swipe over to your left, but that only solves that issue. And not to jump on the bash Samsung bandwagon, but I just don't see how much more beneficial this is over Google Now, and even that I don't use much on my Android smartphones. And it's just a simple fact that if you compete against Google, you will lose. Now at the time of this video, a Bixby preview is available, 2 months too late. I happen to have it ready to go on my GS8, and I will be doing a fun separate video on this alone, so be sure to turn on those notifications, you don't want to miss out on that. So now on to the lovely TouchWiz. So even though I'm running Nova Launcher as I mentioned earlier, you can still feel that TouchWiz lag here and there. It's hard to mimic on camera exactly what I experience day to day, but I still get the occasional slowdown, the apps crashing, and believe it or not, this phone actually froze and restarted itself several times randomly during my course of use. It's really sad that in 2017, for a near $1,000 smartphone, that's even an issue. Samsung really needs to snap out of it and get rid of TouchWiz for good, or kind of figure something out because it's becoming so routine at this point, I'm just tired of mentioning it. Alright, so not everything was all dark and cloudy. So now onto that screen. So my thoughts on the 18.5:9 display still remain the same from my initial review. I love it. That vibrant Super AMOLED display really puts the competition to shame. It's nice to see, and I can appreciate how often videos automatically adjusted themselves according to the proper format to fill the screen. I noticed that a lot when watching YouTube videos, and I enjoyed, and I still do enjoy watching videos on this phone. No other smartphone at the moment gives me that pleasant viewing experience that I get when consuming media on the Galaxy S8 Plus. Now I haven't forgot about the dual audio feature that's available on this phone. Still a fantastic feature that makes this phone stand out from the competition, but I just haven't been able to use it as much since I've gotten the phone simply because the situation just hasn't presented itself. As far as the iris scanner goes, it definitely withstood the test of time. It still works great to this day. Now I use it a lot during my review phase, but I just don't use it much now. Not because it doesn't work or anything, but I guess I've just gotten used to the fingerprint scanner placement despite my issues with that, especially when picking it up off the table. Now on to the battery. So when it comes to the Galaxy S8 Plus, this is one area I cannot complain about. Now I can't say the same for the smaller Galaxy S8, but all I know is that since using the Galaxy S8 Plus, battery life has been phenomenal, no complaints, it gets me through my entire day, and I consider myself a pretty heavy user. I watch a lot of videos, I do a lot of web browsing on a data connection, GPS navigation, and even if I do have to charge it, it picks back up really quick. This is easily one of the fastest charging smartphones out there, no discussion. And that's despite the fact that it's still using last generation's Quick Charge 3.0 as opposed to the latest Quick Charge 4.0. Lastly, on to the camera. Now, I love this camera, don't get me wrong. It's easily the second best smartphone camera out. It's reliable, it captures beautiful photos, and it's fast too, incredible depth of field, along with great colors. But I just don't get that same excitement that I feel when taking pictures using the Google Pixel. I think it's because I like the way that HDR performs on the Google Pixel, that anything else in comparison just looks subpar. I just find that photos from the Pixel look a lot sharper and more artsy as opposed to the Galaxy S8 Plus, where some photos do tend to look a little soft. This is really nitpicking and it's really just a personal preference, to be honest, and I cannot stress that enough. But I can confidently say that these are the two best smartphone cameras that you can grab at the time of this video. So that's it. Go ahead and show me some love by pressing that like button. And if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I have a bunch of content coming your way. And as always, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching. And I will see you in the next video. Peace out.